Fire Maple recently launched the third in their series of petrol pots with heat exchangers on the base and slots for fitting onto a stove. This one is called the Petrel Ramen 800ml, and I guess the idea is that you can cook foods in it more easily than in the others, because as you can see, it's a wider pot. The first one, which is now called the Petrel G3, is tall and narrow. The G2 comes in the middle, and this one is more the design that I like, as many of the meals I cook do require some simmering, ramen included, but also pasta meals, rice meals, ones that are not simply boil in the bag. And for that, it's useful to have a wide pot. Makes it easier to stir the food, and also if you're using it, which I do, as a bowl, it's easier to eat out of. I think this will be the easiest of the three for melting snow as well. An interesting feature of this one is that it has got slots on the bottom so that it will take a stove with 4 pot supports as well as 3. You can see here you have the options where they go in, and these are marked. There are little symbols on the side here to show which of the double slots you put the 4 in and the 3. Another difference is this has a aluminium lid, not a see-through plastic lid like the others, and it's got a little rubber notch on it, which means you can hang it off the edge of the pot. I've no idea whether I'll use this or not. I'll find out when I take it out for a field trip. It's marked inside and outside with marks for 500 and 900ml, although it's described as an 800ml pot. I think the 900 is meant to be the absolute maximum you can put in it. That makes it a little bigger than this one, which is the G2, and which holds 750ml. How it performs in terms of boil times, I don't know yet, because I haven't actually tried it. But it will come on my next trip, and I will keep records of what happens. Initially, though, I think this is probably going to be my favourite of the 3 pots because of the shape and the width. It is a bit heavier. This weighs on my scales 191 grams. Fire Maple give it as 188. This one on my scales is 187 grams, and this one's 166. I don't think that's a significant difference. And as I say, I imagine this is the one I will use most. This one, however, as I have done on my last couple of trips, I will take out if I'm bringing boil in the bag meals and I only need to boil water and I'm not going to be cooking in the pot. But otherwise, this one I think is the one that I will use most. Anyway, now to fit it to a stove and see how easy it is to do with the stove on a canister. The only stove I have with 4 arms as an option is the Soto Windmaster. So let's see how the new Petrel Ramen pot fits onto the Windmaster with the 4 legs. I tried it with the Windmaster with the 3 short legs, arms. It does fit, but it's quite wobbly because the arms aren't really long enough. They only just get into the slots, so I wouldn't use it with that configuration. Anyway, let's see how well it fits. First of all, find the symbol for 4, which is that one, so that must go on there, and then this must fit I think that is on. Looks level enough. Slightly fiddly, but it does fit, and I think it feels quite solid. And yeah, as you can see, you can tip it a long way. The contents are falling out by now, if there were any, of course. There goes the lid, but you can see only at that angle does the pot start to come off. So it's certainly very, very stable using this, the Windmaster with the 4 pot supports. It will fit the Pocket Rocket Deluxe, though it's slightly fiddly. I'm now going to see if it'll fit the ordinary Pocket Rocket, the Pocket Rocket 2. With all these stoves, they've all been well used, and there's a good chance that the arms have got just slightly bent over the years, which doesn't matter in general use, but maybe why some of them are a bit more fiddly to fit into the slots. But of the 3 stoves, this is the one that has had by far the most use, because it went on my 5-week 500-mile walk in the Colorado Rockies. So now let's see, there's the symbol for 3 legs. Let's see how well that fits. Well, that goes on quite easily, more easily than the 4 legs one did. 4 arms, I don't know why I keep calling them legs, they're not legs, they're arms, pot supports. Anyway, not quite as stable, but still pretty good. You know, obviously this is not going to topple off the stove very easily. And there goes the lid. So the Pocket Rocket 2 fits slightly more easily than the Pocket Rocket Deluxe and the Soto with 4 arms. Obviously the Pocket Rocket Deluxe is a more compact and smaller stove. For 3-season use, it's great. In winter, I take this because it's a regulated burner. You definitely need a windscreen with this, as there's no protection whatsoever for the burner, and there's a slightly bigger gap between the burner and the bottom of the pot. That may make less of a difference with this pot than with one without a heat exchanger, but this is a good little stove. Finally, let's see how long it takes to boil 500ml of cold water in the new pot. Okay, that is on. Turn it up and start the timer. Now, I should have pointed out that the lid has 1 drain hole in it, and there is a pour spout, out of which steam is just beginning to come after just over a minute. And now steam coming out of the drain hole as well. And in fact, we have boiling at 1 minute 26, which is very fast, in fact. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's certainly at least as good as the other two petrol stoves, so the difference in shape doesn't seem to make any significant difference. I will do a comparison at some point. Let the stove cool down, and then I'll weigh the canister and see how much gas that used. Now the stove has cooled down, I'll see how much gas was used from what is an almost full canister. Okay, let's see. 9 grams of fuel, which I think is much the same as when I did a similar test with the other pots, but I will eventually do a comparative test and also see what this pot is like in terms of time and fuel usage with the Pocket Rocket 2 with an unregulated stove. Overall though, my initial impressions are excellent, and I certainly think even more than when I started talking about it that this will be my favourite of the petrol pots, because I really do like that shape and the ease of use it gives for anything other than boiling water. Okay, anyway, I hope those of you interested in camping pots found that worth watching. The next report on it will be how it performs when I actually take it out in the hills and go camping, a real world situation as opposed to this, rather artificial one. Anyway, we'll see. So until next time, thanks for watching.